enough, but it was already too much for the three wolves. They bowed on the ground with utmost reverence to greet the great black dragon. Seijun wasn't used to such formality, so he was a bit confused, waving his hand for them to stand up and eat well. Elko solemnly spoke on behalf of the tribal leader, saying, "Great Black Dragon, you have generously shared this precious food with us. It is indeed immeasurable merit." Elka added quietly, "The food is delicious," with a slightly deeper tone that caught Seijun's attention. Why does he look so dejected? Maybe he's thinking about the tribe members on the 85th floor? Elka startled when Seijun noticed his worry, bowing his head in apology. As predicted, "It seems I can't hide anything from the eyes of the great black dragon." Those words were too solemn, but Seijun focused more on comforting him. "Don't worry too much. You'll see the tribe members again soon. The blue moon is about to appear in a few days, so no matter what, you'll have to go down to the 85th floor, right?" Seijun offered a condition. If they help with the work here, he will give a lot of fish to bring back to the tribe members. Elka led the way, bowing on the ground first, grateful to the great black dragon. With things settled here, Seijun looked at the cat on his shoulder, suggesting they should also cultivate and harvest the delayed seasons. Theo, being the boss, agreed immediately, as it was a chance for him to show authority. It quickly waved for its wolf employees to get to work, and they were very excited, obediently responding with a resounding yes. Seeing Oxes 3 and 4 still chewing on the last few strands of onions, Seijun also reminded them to get ready to leave. "This place needs you tomorrow. Both of you will have to lead the way for me." The two bulls were surprised and puzzled. Why does this farmer need us to lead the way? Seijun's mysterious face seemed to wait for this question to be asked, so he could reveal the answer: to collect a debt from the Minotaur King. Seijun knew this answer would shock them. Indeed, Oxes 3 and Ox 4 shouted loudly. Their mouths dropped as they were eating, the onions falling out of their mouths in surprise. "That's the leader of the highest level monsters of that tower. Why would you want to collect a debt from him?" In the glowing transition point between the desolate area full of sand and wind of level 99, today was unusually quiet because all the bulls of the tribe had gathered in one place. Eating and eating the pile of onion leaves was in front of them. The right hand put onions into the mouth, while the left hand already held a strand. They ate with a very serious expression, as if they were always studying something. After a few minutes, they all roared with joy and happiness, even shedding tears. "How long has it been since we enjoyed the taste of fresh grass? We're so happy!" "Delicious!" Other minotaurs cheered along. However, the happiness in their hearts couldn't dispel the darkness in the heart of the Minotaur King. He buried his face in his hands, muttering to himself, "I've messed everything up," right when it was important, remembering when he went to the border to find Ox 3 and Ox 4, and then saw the red-furred bear and a few others. What made him distraught was that he had become too excited, to the point where he forgot everything after seeing a pile of delicious and nutritious grass to enjoy, stacked right in front of him, and he dove in to eat without being able to do anything else. The Minotaur King abandoned all dignity and risks just to bury his face in the food, in front of others, making him feel utterly collapsed. He should have been stripped of the title of Minotaur Warrior, not to mention the king of this species. The more he thought, the more he felt hopeless, so he had to switch to something more positive. He tightly grasped a strand of grass. At least he had found something, a bunch of grass grown nearby, which was definitely a field. But who planted them with the red-furred bear? The Minotaur King tried to recall the small creatures standing next to the red-furred bear, but couldn't. They seemed blurry and indistinct. Neither their shapes nor species were clear. The Minotaur King had no idea who they were. After searching his memory for a while, he suddenly noticed the playful face of the rabbit father with its distinctly farmer-like hat on its head. The Minotaur King concluded that it must be the white rabbit who planted that field. Chewing on the grass to continue thinking, he didn't know why the red-furred bear was in the same place as the rabbit farmers, but it was interesting, wasn't it? The thought spun with the chewing sound. As a Minotaur warrior, one should not steal from creatures smaller than oneself. The blue moon is coming. The time allowed to leave the transition point will be reset from the beginning. As the protector of level 99's transition point, the total time allowed to leave is only 1 hour. He clenched his fists determinedly. Even if the time is short, I will prepare to return to that place again to pay a price for the grass taken from the white rabbit and the red fur. I cannot overlook the negotiation to get that quality grass. But with the large number of minotaurs in this tribe, I don't know how much to exchange to satisfy this amount of food. So he contemplated, what should I use to repay them? The stone in the glowing transition point sparkled under the sun, as if answering the Minotaur King's question. What do you think? Far away from the transition point, on the onion field, another peaceful day came. The sun shone brightly on the plump onions waiting to be harvested. A swing of the sickle cut down nearly a dozen onion stems at once. The one who acted was surely a master in the onion-cutting world. Each swing was accurate, showing the graceful skill of the sickle rabbit. Nearby, the mother rabbit pulled out a large cutting knife to process them all at once. Although not as fast as the sickle rabbit, she was very methodical, and in a moment, the ground was covered with onion leaves for the yellow-furred rabbits to hug and carry away. They were still too small. Just the onions from 2 stems almost covered their sight. Just looking at them, you can see how diligent they are. The rabbit father in the tomato field carefully watered from the upgraded gold sprinkler. Every day he had to water enough for this patch of plants to rest. Under Seijun's prehistoric cave, since the beginning of the day, everyone had been working tirelessly to get juicy tomatoes, waiting for the harvest time. Seijun reached out to pick a bunch of tomatoes, chatting with the rabbit family. We'll have to go far for a while soon, so let's harvest as much as we can before leaving here. Cart Rabbit and Sickle Rabbit immediately agreed. They were ready to harvest tomatoes to bring back for storage. The queen bee couldn't help with the work in the field, but she enjoyed hovering around watching everyone work. Seijun quickly handed over his straw hat for it to hold, as working hard made him sweat too much. The queen bee naturally took it gently, letting the young man go back to harvesting. As the tomato bunches were about to leave the branches, the system immediately notified that he had successfully harvested 9 magical ripe tomatoes at once. Then a few notifications popped up. The experience points had increased slightly, the professional experience had increased, the D-rank farmer skill of the tower had been increased, and finally, there was a congratulatory notification. He had achieved the C-rank tower farmer skill. Seijun read it in surprise 2 more times, unable to believe it was true. I've been so busy lately that I didn't notice the professional rank was about to be promoted, but it didn't end there. Another notification popped up to let Seijun know that when the professional rank increased, the job characteristics also increased. As someone with unique job characteristics, you are becoming more intimate with nature, and hidden talents are being awakened. Seijun was amazed as he read it over twice. This hidden talent of mine has been awakened. What's that? I've never heard of it before. The first thing that quickly appeared to show him was that his nature-loving talent had awakened. This was a talent closely related to nature. Communicating with animals and plants without speaking the same language became easier and clearer than before. What's all this about, huh? Seijun could read every line, but he didn't quite get it. Making friends with nature, then casually chatting with trees and grass? Huh? Maybe it's easier to communicate with plants and animals? Gotta try it to find out, right? Seijun turned back to look at Papa Rabbit, calling out to him to give it a try. Unlike those chatty Pikachu kids, Papa Rabbit, being of a different generation, usually wasn't great at expressing himself with his paws. Yet here he was, grabbing his hat, skillfully asking Seijun with a bright smile, "Did you call for me, Seijun?" In that moment, the world of this country boy suddenly changed, surprising him so much he fell to the ground, mouth wide open in disbelief. No more pika-kapi sounds now. Seijun clumsily returned to Papa Rabbit, awkwardly pointing at him, asking him again, "Come on, answer me this time?" Papa Rabbit seemed not to have fully processed this strange state of the farmer yet, so he remained puzzled. Suddenly, he heard Sickle Rabbit stepping in, asking, "What's going on, Uncle Seijun? Is everything okay?" "Oh my, Sickle Rabbit can talk." "Wait, no, I heard him." Seijun was bewildered for a minute and 30 seconds before swiftly refocusing. He hugged Sickle Rabbit tightly, rubbing his cheek against the little ones with affection. "Oh, Sickle, Sickle, tell me again. What did you call me?" "Oh dear, one must behave like a grown man. Not like that." The child squirmed and slapped him lightly on the face to push away the creepy expression a bit, begging, "Oh please, let me go, uncle, or I'll slap you." Being able to communicate made Seijun more confident. He put down Sickle Rabbit, suddenly adopting a serious tone, telling him firmly, "You mustn't hit me. Do you want to make a bald spot on my head again or what? Remember not to hit me again." Recalling the old incident made Sickle Rabbit startle, realizing that Sejin could smoothly respond to what it said. Sejin and the rabbits could only exchange a few simple questions and answers before. No wonder both rabbit father and son were bewildered. "Hello, he understands," they exclaimed. "He speaks our language." The inkling of hope made them leap for joy. Rabbit mother, the most surprised, asked her husband, "My dear, you must be honest with me. Are you sure Sejin didn't pick up anything strange and put it in his mouth?" Suddenly, being asked directly like that made Sejin hesitate. Was she afraid he would overhear? Like suspecting this young man was putting something hallucinogenic in his mouth? Sejin hesitated. "I didn't pick up anything strange to put in my mouth, nor did I eat anything. Papa Rabbit, you have to believe me, right?" Mama Rabbit jumped when she realized Sejin was answering her directly. "That's the truth. He knows how to speak rabbit language." His beaming face was showered with rabbit love. "Oh, Uncle Sejin knows how to speak. He understands what we're saying. I've wanted to talk to you for a long time." It wasn't just Muck who wanted to talk to Sejin. He knew that, so he picked up the little one, smiling, calling each rabbit family member by name. "Hey Ink, Water Sprinkler, Shovel, Carrot, Sickle, you must have been very confused, right? Let's talk about things we couldn't talk about before." Of course, they all agreed. The whole family gathered around him like a family meeting. The bees flew over to Sejin's straw hat, buzzing softly to see if he'd respond. Seeing the farmer call them, Dio asked, "Hey, could you hear me too?" If the worker bees were not used to talking much, they had their own way of communicating, so usually it was just dance or buzz, but now it wanted to see if Sejin understood it. Sejin reached out and gently touched its head, causing the little bee to close its eyes, enjoying the touch. Sejin's gentle demeanor made it slow to respond. He nodded slowly. "Of course, worker bee. I can hear your voice very clearly." No need to say, it was overjoyed. It, like Papa and Mama Rabbit, wasn't good at expressing actions to tell Sejin about. But the fact that the farmer understood the language of bees truly enlightened everything. It threw the straw hat aside, rushed to Sejin, and hugged him tightly, rejoicing. "Mr. Sejin." The worker bees followed the queen's command and swarmed around him like a sweet flower. Each found a spot to snuggle against him, sniffing with pleasure to express their joy. Sejin surrendered to their numbers, lying on the ground laughing softly. "I like you guys too." It was truly a happy day. After getting to know all of them, Sejin sat up and announced that he had to share some very good news outside this cave. The old rabbit handed the straw hat to the farmer, and they all were ready to listen to him. As soon as he put on the hat, a system message popped up right in front of Sejin, blocking his view. It confirmed that the St. Patrick's Relic straw hat had boosted the work progress of the one wearing it. The farmer at Tower C had been confirmed, and the St. Patrick's Relic straw hat had been upgraded to Grade C. Looking at a series of consecutive notifications, Sejin was confused. After leveling up, did the hat's skills also get upgraded? It stated that the Grade C limit had been removed, the Grade 4 Earth Mother Protection skill limit had been lifted, the Grade 3 Farmer Body skill limit had been removed, and the Grade 2 Abundant Harvest Blessing skill limit had been lifted. The Grade 1 Growth Acceleration skill had been unlocked. This was something new to Sejin, who read it again in surprise. "What is growth acceleration?" The system responded immediately. Growth acceleration. Grade 1 is an active skill that speeds up the growth rate of 10 seasons within 1 week without any side effects. Skill cooldown time, 10 days. Wow, not only was it a new skill, but it was also very cool. Accelerating the growth rate of 10 crops within a week meant he would harvest many more times. In the farmer's mind, a new idea sprouted. Excitedly, Sejin stood up and clenched his fists, telling his rabbit friends that he had a new idea ready to announce to them. But to do that, Sejin had to lead everyone out of the burrow to the field of swaying leaves basking in the sunlight. The farmer planted a potato with 2 cute young sprout leaves full of hope. Alongside him, many notification boards popped up, indicating that potatoes and pumpkins had been planted. With the influence of level 3 planting, the probability of potatoes and pumpkins taking root had increased. The proficiency of level 3 planting had also increased slightly. With the effect of level 1 efficiency increase, the efficiency of level 3 planting had increased by 5%. Sejin pressed his hand against the ground, enthusiastically calling out, "Let's use the growth acceleration skill on the newly planted potato patch." The entire plot lit up with the magical color of the tiny sunbeams. The system board buzzed like a market, announcing that Sejin had successfully used the Grade 1 growth acceleration skill. The growth of potatoes and pumpkins would be accelerated for 1 week. Although it seemed like a long time to accelerate within a week, Once this skill was applied, the potato leaves began to stretch out eagerly, growing taller every minute. From 2 leaves, they grew 3, then 4, then 5, quickly quadrupling in size. Sejun was very satisfied with this skill. Initially, he only planted onions because they needed a more suitable time for the potato and pumpkin seasons, which were much harder to survive outside the burrow. Now, with this growth season skill, they would quickly take root and stabilize. Looking across the rows of onions, he pondered, planting them next to the leafy fields because of the limited space. It should be fine, right? Wait, why were these onion leaves responding as if they were waiting for Sejun to ask? Suddenly, the leaf stems emitted light as if the sun were shining on them, sparkling like the nearby potatoes. But this time, instead of seeing the onion leaves grow or develop, the potato shoots started to stretch out. The young leaves on top grew larger when the light from the leafy fields shone down, quickly making them no longer just young potato sprouts. The leaf color darkened, the stems became stronger, anchoring nearly a dozen leaves on each root, leaving Sejun in awe. Now, looking across the entire field, there was a sparkling light of extraordinary growth everywhere. Who would have expected that the potato fields would grow even faster thanks to the growth from the leafy fields? Knowing he was surprised, the system board continued to pop up with explanations. Nevertheless, as it was a new skill, there were many mysteries to Sejun. It stated that the good harvest energy from the leafy fields had enhanced the potatoes and pumpkins. Until the good harvest energy from the leafy fields ended, the yield of potatoes and pumpkins increased by 50%. Wow! Hitting the jackpot. That's what they call a miraculous wonder, right? It's really lucky. Sejun and his friends would definitely harvest potatoes and pumpkins faster than they thought. Suddenly, a loud roar from the mother bear in the distance surprised Sejun as he turned to look. Before he could see clearly, he saw Cook leaping over his head like a frolicking lamb, shouting loudly, "Dad!" Cook's large shadow blocked out all the light above Sejun, leaving him in darkness. He could only let out an ineffective cry before the bear cub pinned him down, leaving a man and a bear tangled together, the giant red bear looking on, surprised. Wait, why was Cook calling him Dad? Pinning Sejun to the ground, the cub happily called out, "Dad! You heard what the black rabbit said, right? Dad can understand what I'm saying now, right?" Sejun stood there stiffly, wondering, which dad was he referring to? Does he look like he gave birth to a full-bodied red fur child? Cook didn't care about his expression, licking him affectionately, treating him no different than a furry animal. What now, Dad? Finally, Sejun understood who Cook was calling. Initially, he, like me, misunderstood the giant red bear as a dad, not a mom. But who knew the dad the little one was calling was actually him, a 100% purebred human farmer. Now Sejun understood the bear's calls better, turning to see the mother bear looking at her child and the bewildered human. She called him Dad while he had been single for nearly 30 years, never holding a girl's hand. So what about it? Cook's mom. She was even more surprised than her child, extending her claws in disbelief. Truly amazing. Kuong, do you really understand what we're saying? After saying that, she chuckled crazily, half closing her eyes as she answered him. I also like it. I think as long as it's you, Sejun, as long as Cook trusted and listened to him, as it said. While communicating, the mother bear politely bowed her head, thanking Sejun once again for accepting her and her child. She didn't roar in his face, so he felt quite okay already. Suddenly finding a red-haired son, Sejun happily patted its face and neck. If you say so, then okay. I'll just think I have an adorable and chubby son. From now on, Cook could express whatever it wanted to its biological father. It eagerly opened its arms, calling out, "Dad, I'm hungry. I want to eat honey and leaves, and I also want potatoes and fish. I really want to talk about this." Sejun smiled. Our Cook wants to eat a lot of things, right? So, let's have something special today. The little one widened its eyes and asked, "What's special, Dad?" Proudly, Sejun recounted, "We harvested new crops today. We harvested potatoes." After advertising, he stepped forward to pull out a large potato plant, its roots filled with plump potatoes of all sizes, clinging to the soil and looking very pleasing. It had been a long time since he could harvest a different crop other than onions. Sejun smiled happily at the long, nutritious potato vines, quickly checking the item information from them. These were grade C power potatoes, grown in the nutrient tower and taste delicious. Grown by a very skilled farmer, they had improved flavor and effectiveness compared to ordinary varieties. After eating, 3 grams of fat in the body were broken down, and strength increased by 0.5% in 10 minutes. Effects could be stacked up to 10 times within an hour. The grower, Tower Farmer Park Sejun, expired date 90 days. This was the special dish today, and what's even more special was it had to be cooked to be delicious. As Sejun said, it was indeed a special dish. He lifted the wooden lid of the pot, seeing smoke rising, faintly revealing the beautiful round potatoes inside. A large pot stacked full of potatoes. Even those who knew about this tuber were amazed, not to mention the children who had never tried it before. He poured out the cooked potatoes into baskets, plates of onion leaves, and the rabbit pushed out trays of grilled piranha wrapped in onions for everyone to admire. Everyone, let's eat! The adult minotaurs and wolves were eager to eat, but just stood laughing. While Cook was already comfortable, the little one jumped up joyfully. Behind them, the rabbits also brought out grilled corn and piranhas, promising this would be a wonderful feast. Since the harvest of plump potatoes, Sejun's farming diary had taken a completely different turn. He increased the variety of crops. The swaying onion leaves were growing so well that the farmer felt like only good things were happening from now on. Even Aileen felt the same, enjoying a basket of boiled potatoes alone, while watching everyone through her crystal ball, feeling the joyous atmosphere flooding into her heart. This part should be the end of this story, and Sejun's prehistoric cave would start a new journey from today. Early in the morning, instead of the bustling atmosphere of trying hard in the farm, there was a small circle of minotaurs, a red bear, and 3 wolves gathering as if discussing something. In the middle, Cook lay on the ground, crying like a newborn baby, tears streaming down its face, making bubbles, its mouth open, crying out in extreme dissatisfaction. The minotaurs looked at it like a strange creature, and the mother bear was panicked, not knowing what to do, looking very confused, which made Cook cry even more, wanting to go with Dad. Its dad had packed up neatly, standing among the rabbits to inventory the items with Theo. "You've brought a lot of onion leaves, haven't you?" The cat replied. "Yes," pointing to its pocket. "I've brought a ton already, and in the wolves' space pockets, there are also plenty of onion leaves." After finishing that task, Sejun returned to where Cook had moved to sit and cry, because it seemed lying down and crying didn't attract attention. He sternly shook his index finger and called out Cook's name. "Hey, why do you keep acting like a child? Didn't Dad say we'll go together next time?" The little one tightly sealed its lips but still looked very upset, its eyes sulking and pouting. "Well, Dad said I have to protect the bee sisters." The affectionate words of the bee sisters clinging to Cook's head made the bear cubs stop crying, and the stern father asked again, "So are you going to keep making a fuss?" Cook replied, "No, I won't do it anymore, but in return, Dad has to come back quickly, okay?" Of course, Sejun lifted its furry face, indulgently saying, "I'll return as soon as possible. Can our Cook trust Dad and wait?" The bear's eyes sparkled brighter with its father's personal promise. It immediately stopped crying, nodding with understanding. The bee princess was very happy, gently stroking the little bear's arms, knowing it wouldn't be left alone in the cave. Elka approached and knelt beside Sejun's feet, respectfully saying, "It's time to go. Oh, great black dragon, we'll escort you." All right, Sejun had finished all the tasks here, bidding farewell to the little ones and climbing onto Elka with Theo. Compared to the wolf tribe leader, Sejun looked quite small. This time, besides the company president and the cat president, there was also a little black-eared creature following. Did you notice that? Theo jumped from Sejun's back to the gray wolf's neck. Of course, this trip couldn't be without Ox 3 and Ox 4. Sejun turned his head to tell them to come along. The two nodded obediently, leading the way, because no one here knew how to get to the Minotaur King's capital other than them. Slowly, seeing Cook waving goodbye, it was getting smaller and smaller. Ink and Theo lay on the warm fur of the wolf leader, excitedly about to embark on a great journey far away. A few miles away from the red bear's forest and farm, the land became increasingly dry and barren. The low mountains were just right, but there were no trees to provide shades, making the wind sound like a roar. In all directions, nothing could be seen except for the sand blowing into one's eyes. Looking back at the path they had taken, Sejun marveled at how fast they had arrived here in the blink of an eye. He wore a straw hat and sat higher than the little ones. Ink and Theo were all covered, and the dust falling into their eyes couldn't be seen. Suddenly, looking towards the distant horizon, Sejun saw something strange at the end of the sky. Saying at the end of the sky wasn't accurate. Those dark things piled on top of each other stretched out for a distance. He hesitated, thinking he might be mistaken, that couldn't be a forest, but its color made one feel like it was very dark there. Prominent under the blue sky and white clouds and the flat sandy ground, that place stood out completely, making one feel gloomy. Ox 3 looked at Sejun's direction with a displeased frown, explaining that the land there was where those bastards lived. Seeing Ox 3's rare, ferocious appearance, Sejun was puzzled and asked again, "Which bastards?" Ox 4 stepped in to explain from the beginning for the prehistoric farmer to understand. There were several different territories on the same level, and level 99 was no exception. The territory we're heading to now is the Minotaurs, and where he's currently located is called the Red Bear Territory. And that place is called the Lair of the Western Devils. Sejun didn't quite understand why they were called evil creatures. Hearing him ask, as if wanting to know more, Ox 4 turned away so as not to reveal too much disdain. "Yes, that's right, although we've heard they weren't like that from the beginning. But now it's different. It's best if you don't know the details of that place. It's dangerous, so don't wander too close." The warning sounded just like Ox 3's, with a strong scent of prejudice, so Sejun didn't ask again. He just found it strange. Why call them evil creatures? "I'll ask about this later." While pondering, suddenly something blackish shot straight into Sejun's face like a fire hose. The force was so strong that it pushed him down, causing him to fall off Elka's back, flying out his straw hat. It seemed quite painful, not just a little. The whole bunch clamored for him, but Sejun couldn't respond. The young man struggled to push himself up, while the others around rushed over to inquire. Ox 3 and Ox 4 seemed the most confused. "Did you do anything about it?" Elka didn't dare to get closer. "Oh my, where on earth is the great black dragon's eyes, nose, and mouth?" Sejun assured everyone he was fine. The substance on his face flowed quickly when he sat up, easy to pick up with his hand. At first glance, it seemed like mud, but was it really? Now that he had a view, Sejun could clearly see in front of him a large mudflat, with dozens of dark minotaurs busily scooping handfuls and stuffing them into their mouths continuously. The sound of them eating, chewing loudly, was louder than the wind howling through the mountains, and they all looked starved to death. It seemed they had reached the Minotaur's territory, but Sejun didn't understand. Were they really eating mud? Because there was nothing else to eat on this dry and barren land. Was that why they were so excited to see grass? Theo, seeing the scene before him, immediately jumped onto the farmer's head, covering it with his straw hat. Ignoring Ink's suggestion to go down, he said he hated getting muddy. His 4 legs couldn't stand it. Elka didn't know what to say. The company president was covered in mud, lying on its back on her, and it felt partly responsible, continuously apologizing to Sejun. Ox 4 stepped forward boldly, loudly rebuking, "Who threw food at others like this?" From among the hurriedly eating minotaurs emerged one with healthy brown skin and stylishly dark yellow hair, striding out with a mocking tone like a racing boy revving loudly. "Oh my, look who's here, Ox 3 and Ox 4, huh? Where have you two been making friends?" He had just started asking when. Ox 3, "You brought toys that look so weak like this for what? Give them to me, I'll play with them." As soon as he arrived, he was punched hard enough to twist his face sideways, and the large figure of that minotaur was punched by Ox 4, driving his head into the ground, his butt sticking up in the air. Then, his hooves slipped on the slippery mud, and he fell on his butt with a loud thud, creating a loud noise that made the others eating look up to see what was happening. Besides Ox 4 using all his strength to punch in silence, she didn't want to have anything more to do with this bastard, so she told everyone to go on. "We don't have time anymore. Let's go straight to meet the Minotaur King right now." Ox 3 looked on admiringly, his eyes sparkling when looking at his crush in front of him so powerful. Only Sejun and Theo remained silent behind. Ox 4 was too scary. The chaos in the eating area was quickly reported to the Minotaur King by the subordinates. "Oh, leader, Ox 3 and Ox 4 have returned, but they brought some strangers with them too." Who did the subordinates say were strangers? Just as he was wondering, familiar hoofsteps pounded in front of his throne. Ox 4's decisive voice greeted him and immediately reported, "We have returned with guests from the Red Bear territory." Behind him, Elka lowered all 4 legs silently. After all, she was only a level 38 monster, standing in the lair of a level 99 monster, feeling uncomfortable. With the attention now focused on Elka and the small creatures in front of him more than ever since Ox 4's introduction, they whispered and looked at them with a mixture of surprise, curiosity, and even hostility. But after all, they were from the Red Bear territory. Hearing that they were from the Red Bear territory, the Minotaur King laughed. That's perfect. Just when he was scratching his head, thinking he couldn't leave the checkpoint to go back to the farm, now he didn't need to leave, but still get to meet them. He greeted the tiny beings of the red fur. Oh, kind and gentle white rabbit farmer. Wait, Minotaur King stared at the approaching creature with great curiosity. Who are you? You're also white, but you look very strange, and you have a cat on your shoulder. Seijin, upon arriving, stood sideways, showing an unfriendly attitude to the others. The Minotaur King was puzzled. Isn't it a white rabbit? What kind of species are you? He had never seen a human before, always wandering around protecting the checkpoint. He thought he knows every living things already. The farmer happily introduced himself. I am Park Seijin. Theo, on his shoulder, also waved a hand to introduce himself. And I'm Theo, the traveling cat. Meow. Leaning back in his large chair, the Minotaur King pondered. Park Seijin. Huh? A strange species I've never heard of. Oh well, you must be very tired to have come all this way. A few days ago, I got to taste the wonderful taste of the grass your home grows. It must be difficult for you to survive on this level 99 with your weak strength, am I right? I'm not sure why you're working under the Red Fur Bear, but if you're facing any unfair issues, then Minotaur King here will rescue you from that darn red fur scoundrel. That's my thoughtful consideration for weaker monsters, so you can speak freely now. Humph, Seijin retorted defiantly, looking straight at the towering figure above. Minotaur King, I think you've got something mixed up, don't you? Upon hearing a grunt, the young man slowly raised a finger to explain. Firstly, I'm not working under the Red Fur Bear. The contract actually states that Cuckoo and Cuckoo's mother are assisting me. Secondly, I'm not here to seek help because of unfair treatment or anything. I'm here to get compensation for what you stole from my field 3 days ago, Minotaur King. After presenting his case, Seijin crossed his arms firmly, glaring at the other, while reiterating, unless you're a thief. One sentence successfully transformed the atmosphere from casual to heated. Minotaur King stood up abruptly, stomping one foot firmly on the tile floor in front of Seijin, shouting loudly, What? Say that again with your own mouth. His roar was so fierce that it created a gust of wind sweeping Seijin's straw hat off his head. Undeterred, Seijin held onto his hat tightly, shouting back, If you're not a thief, then what are you? Despite the terrifying threat looming over him, he persisted, You're a thief. Not one to be intimidated, Seijin pointed directly at Minotaur King's accusing face. Aren't you Minotaur warriors supposed to be warriors of honor? Instead of feeling ashamed for what you've done, you get angry the moment I mention it? Seijin's relentless berating left Minotaur King's subordinates whispering anxiously. Hey, is that true? Did our leader steal the grass we ate yesterday? The sense of confusion crept into Minotaur King's mind. Unable to let his subordinates see him that way, he quickly lowered himself, awkwardly suggesting that there might be a misunderstanding here, as the field owner claimed. As defenders of the teleportation point, there are some limitations to my actions. I was just in a hurry and didn't have much time left to return. The more he spoke, the more embarrassed he became, even reaching up to scratch his head, insisting that he had already planned to pay Seijin back. What? Minotaur King asked again, and the farmer immediately extended his hand, asking, Can I use the teleportation point? Minotaur King looked at the glowing magic stone placed solemnly in a circle of stones behind him, full of suspicion. So this guy just wants to use the teleportation point. All right then, Minotaur King agreed lightly, then stood up decisively, allowing you to use it if that's what you want. Standing proudly like a true level 99 monster, Minotaur King declared, For both my honor and yours, come here, Park Seijin. The young man hesitated for a moment, then clasped his hands together, rejoicing inwardly. He agreed. Mr. President, finally the moment had arrived. Seijin climbed up the large stone steps alone, excitedly following Minotaur King's direction towards the glowing blue light. Here is the teleportation point. The blue light emanating from the stone looked incredibly surreal to Seijin, akin to stairs leading to heaven, or the magical door of Doraemon, whatever you call it. As long as he could get out of this tower. Intrigued mixed with a bit of hesitation, Seijin reached out his hand, feeling the wondrous glow on his arm. Amazed at seeing such a strange thing for the first time, he eagerly awaited. The usage was quite simple. Just touch the surface of the teleportation stone and think of the destination. Surprisingly, there was no magical effect, but 2 consecutive notifications popped up with the words, You have saved the teleportation point on the 99th floor of the tower. Downloading the list of saved teleportation points from other floors. The sensation of confirming the teleportation point felt like an eternity. Sejin's heart sank when he saw a large X accompanied by the message, "You have no other teleportation points saved outside of floor 99. You cannot move to other floors." What's going on? Sejin read the message over and over, but still couldn't understand what was happening. "Can't I move?" Minotaur King stepped forward, crossing his arms, and explained a bit. "It seems the stone doesn't work because you weren't born in the tower. I'm not sure how you made it to floor 99, but entities from outside are required to register teleportation points on each floor. You have to start from the teleportation point on floor 1, then you'll be eligible to move to other floors. This is a pre-established rule of the tower, a limited invitation provided by the tower to outsiders. Currently, only floor 99 is in your teleportation point list, so you're not eligible to go to other floors." Minotaur King's statement was simple. Easy to understand, but not easy to accept. Sejin clenched his fist, feeling helpless, and then painfully knelt down on the stone floor. He looked up at the beautiful and dazzling stone before him as his faith faded. "I thought I could leave this tower, but now all hope has disappeared without a trace." Minotaur King couldn't understand why this human didn't know the operating principle of the tower, but still appeared on the highest floor, floor 99. Now, seeing Sejin kneeling in despair on the stone floor, his eyes filled with despair as he looked at the teleportation point. All he could do was stand outside and wait. It had been a while, and he still sat in silent despair, surrounded by despair, to the point where even Theo, the cat by his side, began to feel something was wrong, raising his stubby legs and calling out to the chairman. Sejin didn't cry or lament in pain. He just smiled lightly. "After all, I've always known that I wouldn't be able to leave this tower since I found out it was floor 99. What's this emotion anyway? Anyway, now I've confirmed where I am." The man looked calm now, and Minotaur King, coming to offer condolences, said, "Park Sejin, I'm sorry for your situation, but I allowed you to use the teleportation point, and you used it. So between you and me, Minotaur King, there's no debt to be repaid anymore." "Sure." Sejin stood up, sounding comfortable. Theo jumped onto his shoulders, listening to him say that indeed, "You don't owe me anything anymore." "All right." Minotaur King was pleased to bid farewell, turning to leave. Suddenly, Sejin spoke up, causing him to stop. "But let me make a suggestion." As if he had just mentioned a keyword touching some sensitive nerve of Minotaur King, he narrowed his eyes, glaring at Sejin, growling, "What do you mean? How dare you make a suggestion to me?" Before Minotaur King got angry and wanted to smash them all, Sejin let go of Theo, letting him jump down, telling him to open the spatial bag to show him. Theo obediently jumped out of Sejin's arms, pulling the drawstring of the backpack on his shoulder immediately. From the bag poured a pile of fresh green onions, making Minotaur King look in amazement, unable to believe his eyes. The onions poured continuously, like a stream of onions, gradually stacking up into a towering pile, covering an area equivalent to 16 tiles of the Minotaur Hall. Not only was the king amazed, but his minions also turned their eyes to the green. They piled up so much that they overflowed to both sides, scattering a little on the real ground, a rare sight hard to find. The Minotaur group cheered in excitement. "Oh, is that the sweet-smelling grass we had yesterday? It must be delicious. I can't hold back the beast in me anymore." The excitement below the Minotaur group spread to their king, who didn't understand anything, but was still stunned by the pile of onions lying around, but still trying to keep calm and ask Sejin, "What's going on here?" The farmer introduced himself proudly. "This is a gift from a neighbor who wants to be in harmony with his neighbor for a long time." Minotaur King's mind began to wander. He didn't understand why he said it was a gift. His eyes kept staring at the onions, unable to look away, saliva almost dribbling down. Sejin didn't explain anymore, pretending to be indifferent, clasping his hands and sighing deeply. "Well, but I'm having trouble. We're currently expanding our fields, so we need a lot of labor, you know? We can eat onion leaves harvested 3 times a day if the field expansion is successful." Knowing that he had successfully diverted Minotaur King's attention to the topic, Sejin began to delve into the main topic right away. "So that's it, sir. Do you agree to make a deal with me?" Seizing victory, the farmer winked friendly. "Just make a decision, and Sejin's capital will have countless laborers to help expand the planting area." Holding on to his shoulders proudly, without any fear, he was also a savvy merchant. Just saying this would know the success rate is high. Sejin had been gone for almost half a day. Cook, along with the queen bee, sat gathering pollen at the edge of an empty field, looking out at the dusty surroundings, feeling strangely melancholic. He said he would wait for his father to return, but he couldn't help but miss him, and there was nothing else to distract him. The little bear's eyes started to well up with tears, and even the bee sitting nearby felt sad. She tried to comfort him by stroking his head, but it didn't seem to work. Suddenly, the two of them noticed a noise, like footsteps getting closer by the moment. Cook's eyes lit up with hope, and even the queen bee above looked in that direction with anticipation. Emerging from behind a layer of smoke, first came the gray-white fur of the wolf tribe leader, Elka, followed by the farmer riding on the wolf's back with a straw hat on. Who else but the farmer? Drawing nearer, Sejun saw his lost son waiting and waved his hand to greet him. Theo, sound asleep on the wolf leader's back, paid no attention to his father's greeting. Jumping off the wolf leader's back, Cook ran eagerly to his father, calling out repeatedly, "Dad! Dad! You're back!" Luckily, the bee could fly. Otherwise, if it were another creature, the little one would have been tossed aside. Seeing his father made him forget all his troubles. Sejun stood beside the wolf, waiting, and even Theo woke up and climbed onto Elka's head to watch the touching reunion. As soon as he hugged the soft red fur, Sejun asked right away, "Did you behave well at home?" The little one nuzzled into his father's chest, laughing mischievously, saying, Cook didn't cry. Cook was very good." The bee and the other little ones waved their hands joyfully, happy that Sejun had returned. It was such a heartwarming scene that anyone would want to keep watching. Cook hugged his father tightly and then started to lick him. His tongue was as big as Sejun's face, making him want to escape. Just then, the rabbit father appeared. "Sejun returned early, huh? How did the conversation with them go?" Seeing even the rabbit mother come out to greet him, Sejun had to release his son and answer that everything went smoothly. Then he turned to look into the distance, waving his hand to signal someone. Here, thud. Two large hooves landed on the ground as if waiting for Sejun's command. Besides Ink, who went with him on this trip and knew the situation well, both the rabbit father and mother were amazed. In front of them were 4 tall black minotaurs, all of them young and vibrant, unlike the calm Ox 4 and the gentle Ox 3. As soon as they arrived, they showed various expressions instead of greetings. Some complained about hunger, some asked if they were starting to dig here, and one looked around at all the animals present and exclaimed, "This is my first time here." Looking down at the rabbit's house, Sejun introduced them as the Minotaurs who would help clean up the fields. "We've made a deal with Minotaur King to do whatever we can on this wasteland area." Sejun thought their excitement was normal, but why did Cook's eyes sparkle when he saw them start moving their arms and legs? A Minotaur spoke up. "Sejun, we're starting to dig from here. It's been a long time since we've worked. Our joints are all creaking, itching all over, eager to work hard." Suddenly, Cook approached, eagerly saying, "Brothers and sisters, your muscles look so cool." The little one placed his hands on his chubby cheeks, full of admiration, which the Minotaurs liked very much. Trying to act like grown-ups, the darkest Minotaur in the group looked down at the cute red fur, asking in a deep voice, "You're Cook, right? Ox 3 talks about you a lot, so I know you." The Minotaur next to him continued, "You seem braver than we've heard, don't you?" Cook excitedly raised himself up and asked, "Do you know Ox 3? I'm very close to him." Following him, it turned into a 4-legged run, calling everyone to move with him, full of excitement, saying that he had led Ox 3 around the field before. This time, he would show everyone the field, so come with him. Excited as Cook was, who wouldn't be thrilled? The group of Minotaurs followed him eagerly, ready to work right away. It's surprising to see so many workers for the bourgeoisie being so happy like this. The bull with cracked horns approached the chief who was watching the subordinates, laughing happily after a small game. In a low voice it said, "Minotaur King, it's been a while since our place was so lively, hasn't it?" Seeing the chief not objecting, it continued, "If we clean up the fields, this area will return to being lush green meadows full of nutrients instead of mud pits, right?" The Minotaur King nodded in agreement. "I suppose so. And if that happens, no Minotaur will have to eat mud to survive another day." Suddenly feeling pleased, but not wanting its subordinates to notice, it just nodded gently. "Yeah, being good neighbors is nice. Floor 99 is going to be busy from today on." At the bustling transfer point where games were being held to find the luckiest 10 to work, up on the prehistoric cave, bees were diligently flying back and forth between the tomato flower fields and their hives above, pouring honey into large glass jars. Kuk had grown up. If not allowed, it wouldn't take food as it used to, but its passion for honey remained strong. The little one watched the honey pouring from the bees' mouths with fascination, drooling around its mouth. Sitting atop Sejun's head, Deo praised, "I didn't expect you guys to collect this much honey. That's enough jars to last a while. I thought the bees wouldn't bring back this much honey because they were busy preparing for Blue Moon's arrival." Chubby Rabbit stacked them on the cart to be pushed away. It would take 2 or 3 trips to finish. Considering today's work done, Sejun cheerfully looked at Dew above and spread both hands out. "Looks like our population has increased lately, Gio?" With only 3 jars of honey left, Sejun held them up to Kuk. "Take a bit of this honey, don't eat it all at once, okay?" Waiting for its turn, Kuk eagerly stretched out both hands to its father, overjoyed. Sejun promised to pack some for Kuk and its mother to eat gradually, taking a few jars with him. So Kuk got to eat half a jar, and the honey Sejun gave them would last them a week. Seeing the farmer seeming to have finished his main tasks, the wolf tribe leader, Elka, hesitated before calling out, "Ahem, Great Black Dragon, I think we should also go down to prepare to face Blue Moon." Cutting his words short, Sejun understood right away. Of course, he didn't want the wolf tribe near his prehistoric cave on Blue Moon's day, so he smiled and reassured Elka to go ahead. "I've also prepared food for you guys." Sejun led them to a place with a mountain of high-quality food. With Ink proudly on his shoulder, he told the wolves that the Black Rabbit had gone to the endless sea several times to catch a lot of seafood for them. Besides the stacked shrimp, there were many grilled and steamed piranhas, meticulously wrapped in onion leaves. Underneath were lots of bay tomatoes rolling around with spring onions, making the 3 wolves startled, amazed at such abundance. Thanking the Black Rabbit, Elka and the other 2 wolves bowed down to express their gratitude. How could they miss such a chance to be appreciated? Slowly nodding in acknowledgement, he said, "There's nothing special about this, but how could they carry all this food?" Seeing Sejun pondering, Elka pulled out a small backpack from the palm of his hand, saying it couldn't hold as much as Merchant Cat's travel bag, but they often had simple support packs. 3 bags were thrown up at once, automatically flipping open, and the deep space inside sucked all the food in at once. The food was evenly divided into 3 equal portions by the 3 bags, smoothly stuffed in and automatically sealed, falling into the hands of the 3 wolf brothers. They were so used to it, they just stretched out their hands and waited. With the preparations for Blue Moon satisfactory for both the bear and wolf families, they tidied up and bid farewell to everyone at the prehistoric cave to get ready to leave. It took quite a bit of time to return from the residential area to the cave. Perhaps many days later, they would see each other again. Moreover, the wolves looked at Sejun with extreme respect, so the farewell took a little longer, and the food he prepared would be enough for the whole tribe for a whole moon. Sejun stood waving goodbye to 5 people for a long time until they all disappeared behind the forest, then stopped. It used to be very crowded up here, but suddenly seeing everyone off made him feel a bit empty, didn't it? Sejun puzzled himself. He also had to prepare for Blue Moon, right? His face seemed more doubtful than just feeling empty, and as soon as he turned around, he saw the notification board asking if something was wrong because he looked strange. Was he worried about the fields too? Surprised? Eileen noticed him too much, didn't she? Scratching his head, the young man admitted that he did feel that way because Blue Moon was getting closer. Even Ink at the foot had bid farewell to his uncle to return to his parents, leaving Sejun alone to talk to the dragon. The notification board kept beeping continuously, asking if she hadn't told him to trust her yet. She was quite proud, asking if you noticed how she stood up and subdued the monsters during Blue Moon night, didn't you? Well, yeah, that's true. Sejun responded awkwardly to her excitement, unable to hide his worry but also not wanting to dampen Eileen's spirits. When Blue Moon appeared, the monsters all fell into a state of violence, or rather, uncontrollable frenzy. Under the blue moonlight, they turned into real monsters, fierce and ready to attack anyone they encountered. Even the cute Ink in Blue Moon mode might handle a Sejun if necessary. A month ago, during the Blue Moon period, Sejun had thought a lot about it since he saw the ox footprints trample his fields. He thought it was because the monsters here became violent, so he was always afraid. Everyone tried to minimize damage by hiding from the blue moonlight or staying away from the fields. The rabbit families hid in tightly closed houses. The traveling cat slept deeply in a tightly drawn space bag. But the fields on the ground were abandoned, with no defense whatsoever, only left under the moonlight. So Sejin worried that if he expanded the fields farther, there would be a risk of the monsters wandering and trampling. As a farmer, he couldn't go out to guard, so he could only share his concerns with Aileen. Suddenly, the black dragon appeared with firm words, "I will protect the fields." Sejin thought a lot, not sure how Aileen would protect the fields, but the black dragon he had seen in the first Blue Moon season seemed to be Aileen. And if so, she must be very strong. Sejin wasn't sure, but he had no other choice, so he smiled and nodded. "Okay, I trust you, Aileen." Finally, the farmer's expression turned positive, and the black dragon looked at him through the crystal ball. "Just believe in the great black dragon, Aileen Fratani, and plant many seasons, that's all. But if promised, it must be done." The black dragon stood up, stretching its tired skeleton on its back. It had been eating, reading, and chatting with Sejin through the crystal ball in this tiny room for too long. Now it was time to prepare for the blue moon. With its large hand, Aileen gently pushed open the wooden door. The door creaked lightly, then opened, letting in the light from outside, making everything white. It seemed that Aileen had been in the tower dungeon for too long, so the light felt strange, even though she hadn't gone outside yet. She had to go through the winding stairs to get to the exit with natural light. It had been a long time since Aileen stepped out here, the rooftop of the towering tower. In the middle of the ancient stone-tiled floor was a shifting stone suspended in the air within a circle of 3 smaller stones firmly embedded in the ground. It looked more modern than the Minotaur King's and was windier due to its height difference. The rooftop where the dragon's teleportation point actually lay on top of a sharply pointed tower, surrounded by a not-too-large forest and a round lake as clear as a mirror. From there, a steep stream flowed, rushing down into a small lake below. That was the entire area of the flying land where the black dragon managed the tower. It didn't belong to any floor, because it was basically a floating land in midair. Below, tens of meters away, was a thin layer of drifting clouds, below which was the vast expanse of the 99th floor, where there were both barren wastelands and lush forests divided into different territories of monsters. Standing from the railing, looking out at the lake, reflecting the sparkling sun, Aileen sighed. It had been a long time since she went out to enjoy such a fresh breeze, hadn't it? It was indeed too comfortable being a dragon, had to. She hung a hammock and lay there all day writing reviews for her friends. However, Aileen came here for a reason, not just to enjoy the breeze. She turned her head to look at the teleportation platform behind her, then stepped forward to place her hand on the empty space between the 3 stones. From the palm of her hand, a control panel with an interface and color similar to Sejin's notification panel appeared. With a slight turn of her wrist, another control panel appeared using the human eye teleportation. Well done. Everything is going as planned. A large blue screen made from the circle around the teleportation stone pulled down into the space between the 3 smaller stones, and the black dragon looked happily at the numerous notifications appearing before her eyes. Finally, it was her turn to perform, wasn't it? If you didn't pay attention, no one would know today is the last day of the sun before Blue Moon arrives. The sun still shone golden on the tomato fields, but today the atmosphere was unusually quiet. The friendly rabbit farmers had all been hiding in their houses since early in the day, tightly closing the doors and not receiving visitors, not even caring about farming. Sejin fiddled outside, stacking a few rocks for a while to keep the fire from going out, and to make it just enough to produce ashes. With this much, it should be okay to protect the ashes, right? Because after the blue moon period, there would always be some fruit or root vegetables that changed color. He would just eat them hot. Suddenly, Sejin heard loud crying and meowing below, indicating that Theo was also present. He walked over to where the cat was desperately clinging to a bunch of golden fur, sobbing uncontrollably. The cat was wiping its tears and nose on the fur, causing the little ones to push their faces away. Just the thought of these golden fur balls growing up made Uncle Theo emotional. Blue Moon was on her way, and they couldn't linger there any longer. Sejin approached, reminding the cat not to go out and to hide in the pocket dimension. The cat complied, making sure to remind Sejin to take good care of the little ones and to call if anything went wrong. Sejin assured him that he would. Before the cat hid in the pocket dimension, The young man handed it a small white roll, instructing it to keep it with it. Theo immediately recognized it as a honey pot. Sejun chuckled gently, saying that Dio had left it behind this morning before leaving. Perhaps because the bee colony was now too large, the honey pot kept showing up in his hands. Sejun liked having many bee colonies, but the space here wasn't enough for another one. Theo seemed to understand, using its chubby legs to tuck the pot into the fur layer, assuring Sejun that it would take good care of it this time. The sky suddenly darkened, and Sejun realized that Blue Moon is approaching. He immediately began to obscure the sunlight, urging everyone to stay put wherever they were. The light, like that of the night, shone down into Sejun's prehistoric cave. Though not much, it was enough to transform the cute golden furball babies into aggressive creatures with red eyes and muscular bodies. Their elongated hands with sharp claws and their threatening growls were all efforts to resist the changes happening within their bodies. Sejun knew this, but being the only one witnessing it, he couldn't help feeling uneasy. Instead of masking himself and sleeping until morning, he now grimly remembered the first time his rabbit family underwent such a transformation. He had seen this scene before, but getting used to it was quite difficult. Their rapid changes were unsettling. The cries of the rabbit herd were nothing compared to the intense noise coming from outside. Something was roaring loudly, making Sejun cover his ears in agony. He realized he had never encountered this creature before, accompanied by the sound of fast-paced footsteps above. He stepped into the illuminated area to get a better view, wanting to see what was happening, and Aileen hadn't arrived yet. Unexpectedly, due to Sejun's movement, he immediately became the target of the ferocious rabbits. They momentarily forgot their previous howls and stared at Sejun fiercely, and even he forgot he shouldn't disturb them while they were transforming. Now each of them seemed deranged, making Sejun fearful. Why were they taking so long to transform? Last time, the little ones turned into white rabbits as soon as Blue Moon appeared, right? Facing the menacing rabbit horde staring at him like a criminal, Sejun was confused. Why were they all still so violent? He was doomed now, helpless and unsure of what to do, besides covering his face and screaming in agony. At that moment, Blue Moon was partially obscured as a large dark shadow with long wings flew over the cave. The sound of flapping wings was unmistakable in the dark night, immediately causing the aggressive rabbits to stop and stare at Sejun. He turned around happily, calling out loudly, "It's Aileen!" The dragon had kept her promise to appear and guard him from worries. As soon as the dragon's shadow passed, a large tree root suddenly stomped heavily on the ground outside the onion field, where rows of onions were planted straight. It turned out not to be a tree root, but the two legs of the creature from the 99th floor, antler branch, with a design no different from a giant rooster combined with an ancient tree. Its eyes were shining with violence, and it stepped closer, about to trample Sejun's fields, when suddenly there was a noise above that made the creature look up. Under the blue moonlight was the powerful figure of the dragon, spreading its wings as it flew overhead, easily visible. Antler Branch was terrified by the appearance of the black dragon, fleeing the onion fields of Sejun. Even though it was violent, it knew it wasn't a match for the great black dragon. But this black dragon seemed strange. It was slightly blurry at the head in the projected image, with eyes devoid of any vitality. An AI black dragon? Indeed, Aileen was truly delighted, hiding behind the control panel and laughing in amusement. Ha ha ha! What do you think of the appearance of Aileen Fritani, the masterpiece? She skillfully manipulated the controls of the panels around her while keeping her eyes on the virtual dragon's flight path. It was a type of magical illusion tool created by my grandfather for me to use. It was extremely fancy for managing the tower during blue moon nights when I couldn't leave the management area. Just make it look exactly like me. Looking down below, seeing the large dragon spreading its wings in the wind, Aileen was extremely satisfied with the remote control technology that could operate up to the 99th floor. It was even feasible to touch the clouds. This illusion disappeared as soon as I touched the ground. Now it was comfortable to use. Aileen chuckled, thinking Sejun must think she looks super cool like this. So, the dragon became even more excited, maneuvering her illusion to soar a few more rounds under the night sky. Since the great black dragon had already appeared, let's fly a little longer until Blue Moon disappears. Sejun stood staring at the mouth of the cave for a long time, realizing that apart from the wind, there was no other sound. The monsters had truly become silent since Aileen appeared. Suddenly, white light emitted from the rabbits, making Seijun turn back in surprise. Their ferocious and menacing appearance had completely disappeared. The rainbow light appeared and faded, leaving a group of pure white rabbits rejoicing with their new appearance. They had all turned into adult rabbits now, each one looking different, slightly larger in size and incredibly adorable. Looking at Seijun with obedient expressions, he stammered emotionally, "You guys," then rushed over, trying to hug them tightly. They were all grown up now and didn't like being hugged. Some tried to avoid Seijun's face, saying it was too tight to breathe. The remaining ones looked grateful, but puzzled, asking what was wrong with Uncle Seijun. Before he could answer, Seijun heard the rabbits cheering joyfully behind him as a purple light appeared. Seijun looked, noticing the glowing spots shining among the tomato fields and mingling in his potato patch. Blue Moon's light had transformed the fruits and vegetables. Seijun happily watched the rabbits nodding in joy. Everyone knew this harvest would be abundant. With so much light, let's harvest the Blue Moon crops together. Without waiting for dawn, smoke quickly rose from the prehistoric cave. Under Seijun's pot lid were sweet potatoes next to purple potatoes, and newly picked purple potatoes bathed in steam. He laid all the cooked potatoes on the onion leaf tray, along with the green tomatoes from the field. The baby rabbits eagerly watched, excited to have something new to eat. The system popped up a message notifying Seijun of the items. These purple potatoes were called moon squash, containing Blue Moon's energy. Next were the strength potatoes containing Blue Moon's energy. And finally, the more familiar magical tomatoes containing Blue Moon's energy. If anyone buys purple potatoes outside, be careful to see if they're moon squash from Seijun's farm. He proudly displayed the basket in front of the system board, showing off to the dragon on the other side. This time, we harvested 13 magical tomatoes, 3 strength potatoes, and 7 moon squash. Aileen, you worked hard. Please accept this reward from the Blue Moon. Seijun kindly reminded her that the potatoes were still hot. Let them cool before eating. The system board immediately sent Aileen a message, thanking her for managing the tower. The tower manager even shouted loudly, asking her to let him take care of Blue Moon in the future. The onion leaf basket was quickly teleported back to Aileen's waiting outstretched hand. By now, the dragon had finished pretending to fly around in the sky to scare the 99th floor monsters and was lying on her back with a warm cloth over her face, feeling refreshed. Although tired, seeing what Seijun sent, Aileen sparkled with joy, truly deserving of it. Should she try it right away? She picked up a small green magical tomato. She had to try her healing potion for her dragon heart. Putting the tomato in her mouth with utmost reverence, Aileen chewed slowly and carefully to savor it before swallowing. Suddenly, in the space, she began to hear the thumping sound, continuing endlessly without stopping. Oh my, this dragon heart was beating now. Aileen looked happily at her inverted cage. Even if she spoke a bit louder, she could still hear clearly. Unlike last time, now she could feel the steady flow of energy circulation. Just as she was enjoying herself, the system board popped up a ding notification that made Aileen jump. What is this? She read through it and didn't understand at all. What was honey potato? The system reported that it had received an achievement for reviving a forgotten dish, honey potato. How could she eat that dish? She glanced at the globe, thinking the author must be on the other side. Indeed, as soon as she looked at the globe, she saw Seijun generously pouring half a jar of honey onto a still warm potato in his hand, making Aileen furious. He dared to give her only steamed potatoes while he was enjoying such a delicious dish alone. That was unacceptable. Aileen's anger subsided as soon as she saw another notification board. You can reward the one who completed the achievement of reviving a forgotten dish with a special professional skill. The confirmation bracelet for the special skill was already displayed on the board. Though she wasn't sure why suddenly everything was so exciting, the dragon immediately became enthusiastic. Indeed, it was a great reward for a tower farmer like Seijun. But enough about that. Speaking of honey potato, Blue Moon energy-infused honey potato was truly delicious. The strength potatoes marinated in honey not only tasted irresistibly good, but also permanently increased mana by 0.3. Seijun looked at the honey-drenched potato, preparing to savor it. Potatoes with salt were also delicious, but sweet ones were equally delightful. Such a delicious dish should be left for the little ones to enjoy first. They cheered when Seijun offered them skewers of honey-coated potatoes, urging them to eat first. However, as the food reached their hands, one of the rabbits ran out and stood between Sejun and the rabbits, stopping him. "Don't you remember what Dad said?" The whole bunch looked puzzled as the rabbit reminded them that Dad said they were only supposed to harvest all the blue moon produce for him. What? They couldn't eat it? The little ones crowded around asking why. Just one reason, pointed straight at Sejun. The rabbit stubbornly declared it was because he was too weak. It was a very reasonable excuse, but it felt like a direct insult, and being given the food by the rabbits made Sejun apologize profusely, admitting he was too weak indeed. So, even though honey potatoes were delicious, Sejun had to eat them with tears, while the rabbits surrounded him, cheering him on to eat well and healthy. They would eat regular potatoes and sweet potatoes to make way for him. The sadness quickly dissipated with the delicious sweet taste of the honey potato. Sejun carefully chewed it in his mouth, praising its deliciousness. The soft texture was upgraded along with the sweet taste of honey. Additionally, the continuous system notifications informed him that he had eaten a blue moon honey potato, permanently increasing mana by 0.3 points, enhancing the irresistible taste. Could he be addicted to this dish? Suddenly, a strange board appeared in front of him, making Sejun stop chewing because it wasn't the usual notification for eating a new item. Instead, it was a congratulations board for completing the achievement of reviving the forgotten dish. Honey potato? What's this? Sejun wondered, chewing hesitantly. This dish was quite popular, so why call it a forgotten dish? Moreover, it was called an achievement. Did pouring honey on steamed potatoes count as an achievement? The tower manager's message popped up as a replacement, confirming her approval upon seeing him eat, congratulating him on achieving a great accomplishment. A new task had appeared, giving the tower manager a portion of honey potatoes as a reward, plus a professional skill. The rejection line was longer than the content itself. Sure, he would be disappointed if he refused, but he wouldn't show it. Wasn't it showing annoyance? Sejun asked confusedly, couldn't all these appear just because he added a little honey to the potatoes? Well, even though he didn't understand anything, Sejun still accepted it. He was curious about the professional skill, so of course, he had to accept the task. He asked again, could he make this dish with regular potatoes? Sejun picked out a few beautiful potatoes, put them in a small onion leaf basket, then poured honey over them. After that, he handed the basket out, and it disappeared gently, returning with a notification that he had completed the task. Because he had completed the task, he had received a professional skill. He had achieved level 1 cooking skill, a brief explanation of which would slightly improve the effectiveness and flavor of dishes prepared from ingredients grown in the tower. Sejun was very surprised. A special professional skill for a farmer who spent all year selling his face to the land and his back to the sky. But that's not all. The system displayed a list of registered recipes, currently one, which was the honey strength potato infused with blue moon energy. This dish had a whole page with illustrations that made the viewer drool. Blue moon energy-infused potatoes steamed and marinated in honey. The combination of steamed potatoes and honey created a sweet and tender flavor. The flavor was slightly enhanced. Once eaten, it permanently increased mana by 0.3 points. Because the level 1 cooking effect was so small, the increased mana wasn't displayed. Sejun, the tower chef and farmer, with a usage limit of 1 day, grade C. It was quite a pleasant surprise. Sejun scratched his head embarrassedly. Could he collect more cooking recipes too? It was so magical that he didn't even need to be surprised anymore. At this point, should he become a chef as a side job after becoming a farmer? That was for later. Sejun stood up to inform the rabbit kids to make more honey potatoes for others first. Will you guys help me? The enthusiastic kids chorused. Yes, sir. They are both obedient and talented, truly adorable. And so, in the diary of Farmer Sejun's tower, another simple yet cheerful entry was added. The 8th day of Blue Moon passed by peacefully. Has anyone tried honey-glazed potatoes yet? Comment below to let me and Sejun know how it tastes. The western forest of level 99 seemed eerier than usual on Blue Moon night. For dozens of kilometers around, there was no sign of life, only the sound of wind sweeping through the mountains, which were incredibly unsuitable for the faint-hearted. The centipede-like monster, Antler Branch, returned to its forest with familiarity after being chased away by the 3D illusions of the Black Dragon from the farmer's field. It was just a bit scared back then, but now that it's back in the forest, everything seems fine. The rustling of leaves in the wind seemed to welcome Antler Branch home. It was moving slowly when suddenly, out of nowhere, a branch or root swept lightly against its leg, causing it to stumble and fall to the ground. Antler Branch fell like someone squatting down, not losing its balance or falling face first, but it hurt. Oh, it hurt so much. The creature muttered to itself as it tried to console its pain, while blowing air to soothe its throbbing legs. Suddenly, it heard the sound of moving air above. Antler Branch looked up in surprise to see what looked like a hand made of wood reaching down with enormous claws, grabbing it easily, squeezing tightly so it couldn't escape. Poor Antler Branch struggled to dodge the tree roots wrapping around it, but its large legs couldn't withstand the strength of the strange creature. The roots pierced into its body, gradually enveloping Antler Branch, weakening the creature as its leaves fell off. Soon, Antler Branch disappeared entirely, swallowed whole by the giant tree root, which thumped heavily on the ground in celebration. Emerging from the darkness, the root transformed into spider-like legs, propelling the creature far and fast. It hurried towards the forest's edge, just as Blue Moon ended, gazing ahead with an uncertain purpose. Suddenly, the wind was blocked by the forest, and behind the creature were many pairs of red eyes emitting light from within the tree hollows, resembling a menacing tribe observing their prey. It wasn't clear if the destination was the friendly farmer's field anymore. Meanwhile, Sejun was resting, waiting for his boiled food to cook behind him, unaware of the sprouting seedling amidst the burnt leaves. But how could a sprout emerge from a burnt leaf devoid of nutrients? The warm sun on level 38 was no different from level 99 above, where the wolf tribe was playing after a night of hiding from the moonlight. The villagers gathered around Elka as she distributed food to the children, all delighted to see the tribe leader bring back a pile of protein sufficient for everyone for a month. The young gray wolf saw grilled fish for the first time, gratefully receiving it from the tribe leader's hand, which also pleased Elka to see their expressions. Elka's wife gently asked if he had to leave immediately. Yes, Elka nodded. He had to leave as soon as Blue Moon ended. Understanding her husband's long absence, his wife held his hand, suggesting he stay a bit longer to watch the children wake up. But with a more important mission serving the Great Black Dragon, there was no time to waste. He would return soon enough. After changing into a coat for the journey, Elka led the wolves, full of energy, saying it's time to go, to level 99, with the tribe waving farewell behind them, perhaps not seeing each other for another month. The merchant village was bustling as usual, but today there was an unusual commotion that caught everyone's attention. "Run!" someone screamed, making the calm pedestrians quickly step aside. Compared to the dogs, the rhino, or the deer, 3 gray rabbits were running desperately on the ground, looking tiny. They reminded each other not to be caught, though each was already exhausted, their short legs running at full capacity, yet unable to leave the village area, filling the youngest with fear. It tried to chase after the 2 older brothers, calling and waiting for them, but no one slowed down, not even itself. Yet that brown dog caught up already, its long, sturdy legs swiftly reaching where the gray rabbit was fleeing, its vicious fangs dripping with saliva. With just one swipe, the brown dog easily knocked the brown rabbit off the dirt path. The poor little thing whimpered in pain, officially leaving the running path and falling flat on the ground. Its 2 older brothers were running ahead, continuously squeaking pit pit when they saw their sibling lying helpless. Their 8 legs gradually slowed down and came to a complete stop, the 2 brothers bewildered, looking back at their younger one, unsure what to do, when suddenly another menacing brown dog, with its fierce red-eyed gaze, approached menacingly. The large shadow of the dog loomed over the gray rabbits, making them too scared to breathe heavily. Now, even if they wanted to run, they couldn't outrun these dogs, could they? How could the horrifying pit sound of the gray rabbit's home transmit into the ears of the gray wolf somewhere not far away? Elka looked surprised, following the direction of the sound she had just caught, wondering what it was. The chief's focused expression made Elke curious. It looked but saw nothing, then asked, "Are we not going anymore, Chief?" The gray rabbit was gnashing its teeth, resisting the trembling, but it was futile. Its neck was firmly grasped by the large hand of the brown dog. Resigning to being lifted, its younger sibling was still under the feet of the ferocious dog. It growled with the rabbit in hand, mocking, "You miserable slaves, where do you think you're running off to? Do you know how many layers we had to climb to catch you?" The dog's comrades brought the younger rabbits closer, chuckling, daring to dream of escaping from us. Huh? One had fainted, The other was so scared it couldn't even move, which the two dogs enjoyed. Perhaps today we'll have rabbit meat, huh? Offering the smallest rabbit to its mouth with eager anticipation, the dog chuckled. They didn't know one rabbit missing wouldn't matter, did they? Before the food even reached its mouth, it received a blow to the head that made the dog snap its tongue. Elka's front paw struck straight down on its head, pushing the dog's face into the dirt in front of it, causing it to crack, enough to know the underestimated strength of the gray wolf lineage. The rabbit, propelled upward, then fell with a thud. Elka spread its claws wide to avoid injuring it, catching the tiny rabbit still unconscious and clueless. Seeing their teammates incapacitated, the brown dog's anger turned to panic as it realized that the one who attacked earlier was Elka. Isn't he under Master Grid's command? Its hand still held the gray rabbit, questioning why Elka had attacked them. These were the ones chasing and recapturing escaped slaves. If Grid found out about this, he wouldn't be pleased. No more threatening with Grid. Elka coldly replied that it didn't care whether it was reported to that boar or not. The gray wolf grimaced, growling menacingly, threatening, "Disappear before my teeth sink into your neck." Elka's dangerous demeanor made the brown dog retreat, no longer as aggressive as before. It reluctantly left with its unconscious companion from earlier. The brown dog couldn't match the gray wolf. It had to leave 3 rabbits lying on the ground for Elka to take away peacefully. Elke approached, calling the chief, hesitatingly uttering the words, as the chief had already intervened. In truth, Elka didn't want trouble on the way to the farm, but it ended up like this. It scratched its embarrassed face, apologizing. It just couldn't resist. Looking down at the awakened gray rabbits, too scared to move, the gray wolf curiously asked what to do with them. If left here, they would surely be captured again by those like earlier. Indeed, Elka watched them huddle together, trembling on the ground. These weak rabbits would either be eaten, beaten, or forced back into slavery by those brown dogs. Well then, since it had already rescued them, it couldn't leave them here. Elka made the decision with folded arms, taking them along. Who knows? They might be useful to the Black Dragon. The fake Black Dragon today gathered all the farmers from the field to enthusiastically announce something very important. With a proud face, Sejun solemnly informed everyone that his mana had reached level 10 after eating Blue Moon's products. He closed his eyes, enjoying the warm praise from the children in front of him, but they remained silent. Some rabbits looked bewildered, some smirked, and Theo raised an uninterested face, staring straight at the chairman. Seeing no one speaking up, he hesitated, then spoke on behalf of everyone. Is that something worth boasting about, Meow?" Sejun asked curiously. "Now we can eat the innards of that giant eel." He proudly displayed the sparkling golden sphere, meaning we would have a new skill. Despite the enthusiastic speech, Theo yawned without a care, asking if he could go to sleep. Meow, to which Sejun firmly refused. He stubbornly instructed everyone not to leave until they had seen his new skill. As he said, the farmer put the inner sphere into his mouth and chewed it up immediately. It smelled more like a bowl of thick grease, but Sejun didn't seem to mind. It tastes good," he mused, pondering. "Kinda like the scent of orange soda, huh?" The system panel popped up, notifying Sejun that he had finished devouring the internal organs of the giant eel and had learned level 1 rain and thunder skills. "Oh, so it's learning, huh? Not just getting?" Sejun questioned. Hearing his confusion, the system appeared again, explaining that he lacked a lot of mana to properly use level 1 rain and thunder. For user safety, rainmaking had been sealed. Another panel explained the same reason. Calling thunder had been sealed too. What in the world? Need more energy, huh? This wasn't a thing before. How can I make rain and thunder when they're locked? Dissatisfied, Sejun slapped his hand in frustration, summoning dark clouds with a hopeful heart. As the protagonist, he would truly command the elements. In Sejun's hopeful gaze, the clouds began to gather and condense into a mass. A rapid rumble echoed, the density of the clouds growing thicker until, surprisingly, a dark cloud formation emerged, as massive as a small hill. Quite impressive indeed. A polite clap echoed from a single audience member, Kook Kook, while the rabbits and Theo gazed in awe just like Sejun. Creating it himself made him kneel on the ground in self-blame. "Oh heavens, I used a third of my magical power to create a cloud this size?" The rabbits chuckled, bidding Sejun farewell to return to their duties. Suddenly being a farmer got called to watch a comedy show. Only Theo approached to comfort Sejun. "Don't lose heart, boss. You're still the boss, no matter how weak." "Huh, That's supposed to be comforting? Sejin grumbled discontentedly, extremely dissatisfied. Only Kuk seemed excited, extending its arms wide. Dad, you look so cool, and it can even shade us from the sun. You'll do something even greater in the future, Dad. You're the greatest. Now that's more like it. Sejin chuckled and embraced the affectionate face. Only Kuk understood him as he wished. Dad's so happy, thank you, son. The touching father-son moment was interrupted by Theo lying on his lap, crossing his legs, speaking as if he were a king. Yes, indeed. Good for the sun not to blind us anymore. Meow! Please move the cloud a bit. Meow! Sejin sneered at Theo's annoying face, about to spank him. Then suddenly a majestic voice exclaimed, "We're back!" Sejin joyfully welcomed everyone back. Then his eyes caught 3 trembling rabbit children under Elka's feet. They were all gray rabbits but huddled together in fear, except for Theo. They were all timid rabbits, so here it was all the scary ones. Even Sejin looked at them curiously, wondering who they were. Gray rabbits, huh? They shivered like a broken washing machine. Sejin's face seemed unfriendly or something. They clung to each other, sobbing. One rabbit knelt in front of him, clasping its hands in supplication. "Please don't eat us, sir, please." Now Sejin noticed their injuries, not like the energetic rabbits on his farm at all. Wonder what happened to these kids. Surprised, Sejin turned to the tribe chief. "Where did you get these kids from?" Seeing his confusion, Elka was about to explain from the beginning when suddenly something nearby fell. It was the rabbit mother, dropping her pruning shears, along with the rabbit father, staring at the children in shock. They both looked like they'd seen ghosts. The mother even covered her mouth to stifle her cry. The father exclaimed excitedly, "They're still alive!" The attention of the gray rabbit shifted to the rabbit father, who suddenly shouted, "Uncle!" Tears welled up in his eyes, but he smiled, welcoming the rabbit couple into a warm embrace, confusing Sejin and the others. Everyone stood watching, from crying to laughing to comforting each other. Finally, Sejin approached to see what was going on. Why were they crying like this? Even the rabbit mother was crying now. None of them understood what was going on. Sejin turned to the tribe chief, wondering, where did they come from? Since the rabbit couple arrived at his prehistoric cave for the first time, he had suspected they intentionally sought him out, rather than got lost, because how could there be rabbits on floor 99? The whole capitalist company of Sejin looked towards the source of the munch-munch sound with widened eyes. Even the tribal chief, Elka, who had wandered far and wide, had never seen such a strange scene before. What was even stranger was that the rabbit family seemed frozen stiff. The gray rabbit kids gnawed on carrot pieces, as if afraid someone would snatch them away. Not finished eating, the dark-furred one reached for another carrot, as if afraid of being robbed. It seemed they had all been starving for quite some time. They ate so quickly that they choked. Still, the mother rabbit dared not intervene, just handing them water to drink while they ate. Sejin feared they might get choked again, so he softly advised them to eat slowly. The eldest among them, nearly filling his stomach, dared to look up at Sejin with embarrassment, thanking the great black dragon as he sipped water. Sejin chuckled gently, saying to just call him Sejin. This startled Elka, the gray wolf chief behind them, amazed. The great black dragon couldn't be called by his name like that, but Sejin insisted it was fine. After all, the great black dragon wasn't that grand, only 4 words long. And here, there was no need to be so formal. We're all family now, so feel free to call me Sejin. The tribal chief bowed, wanting to call the great black dragon, but reluctantly changed to addressing him as Sejin. I understand, sir. The 2 little ones, Elko and Elki, giggled behind, saying they are family now, and the great black dragon seemed more easygoing than everyone thought. After the formalities were done, Sejin glanced at the gray rabbits still eating carrots and pondered deeply. Theo, indifferent to the chairman's worries, snuggled into his armpit, demanding soup rewards, paying no attention to anything else around. Thanks to the system, Sejin knew these 3 gray rabbits each had their own ability. The brightest colored one was an artist, the middle one licking its fur was a carpenter, while the eldest, still eating carrots with a full belly, was an architect. Essentially, they were all technical experts. Sejin pondered these matters while holding Theo. The happy cat continued to enjoy its soup rewards, paying no mind to the chairman's concerns. After the gray rabbits finished eating and the rabbit elders cleaned up, Sejin began to inquire. When the kids climbed to the upper floors of the tower to escape the farm's exploitation, did Elka save them from the pursuers? So, which floor did you run out from? Sejin looked at the carpenter rabbit, wrapping a blanket of leaf onions around. and the architect rabbit recalled the torment there, wanting to shed tears in response to Sejun's question. "From the 55th floor, sir." Before he could be surprised, the rabbit father exclaimed in horror. The loud noise made Theo, lying on Sejun's lap, want to flip over, but the rabbit father grabbed the little one's neck, asking incredulously, "What did you just say? You've been on the 55th floor all this time." Surprised, Sejun shifted to hold Theo with both hands. The cat still enjoyed its soup reward, watching the rabbit father grasp the architect rabbit's neck, shaking it back and forth. What about the kingdom then? The king, queen, and princess? What happened to the monsters there? Shaking the architect rabbit to the point of frenzy, Sejun had to hold the rabbit father back to advise it to calm down. What kingdom? And monsters? What are you talking about? In front, the mother rabbit held the gray rabbit's back again, and the rabbit father began to calm down. It still seemed very agitated, but it tried to control itself, quietly recounting a long-ago story, one Sejun had never heard before. The 55th floor of this tower was once the Kingdom of Rabbits, known as the Scarlet Kingdom. Just mentioning it brought a sparkle of pain to the rabbit father's eyes. The pain within still lingered, making Sejun hesitate to inquire further. So it used to be a kingdom, huh? What about now? Although he already knew the outcome, he still listened intently. Even Theo stopped eating its soup reward to listen to the rabbit father's story. Decades ago, the Scarlet Kingdom had fallen. Memories of the day when thousands of red hues filled the sky of the bustling kingdom flooded the rabbit father's mind. The event had occurred so long ago, yet it felt like yesterday, the feeling of sadness still intact. To start from the beginning, the Scarlet Kingdom was a place teeming with rabbits of all kinds. They lived in small wooden houses decorated with the vibrant colors of wildflowers growing on the roofs, simple staircases leading up to the palace at the highest point. There, young rabbits with golden fur had vast lands to roam freely, and mature rabbits had neighbors to chat with. They were farmers, specializing in cultivating seasonal crops on their fertile lands, eating delicious and nutritious fruits harvested from their vast fields. Apart from farming, the rabbit community also had a rich culture and beautiful architecture, cherished and passed down from generation to generation. From painting to sculpture to various handicrafts, the rabbit community could do it all. They lived peaceful and happy lives from one generation to another, partly thanks to the divine power bestowed upon them to protect themselves. It was also a gathering place for other black fur rabbits specialized in combat, trained and practiced in the use of weapons for attack. But then one day, when everything seemed normal, the Black Rabbit team unconsciously realized that something was coming to this kingdom, a creature with an appearance that terrified any black rabbit, no matter how strong a warrior they were. A horde of winged monsters with cool red eyes emerged in dense rows from nowhere. Their bloodthirsty look was so terrifying that it filled the serene blue sky of the 55th floor. As fast as they appeared, the red-winged monsters descended upon the rabbit village to attack. The rabbit clan was forced to flee, partly because their fighting population was not much. The black rabbit warriors became the only force capable of resisting, exerting all their strength to resist those dreadful red flies. The destructive darkness suddenly appeared, engulfing all those peaceful days, leaving only ruins, smoke, and fire everywhere, and the Red Kingdom officially collapsed. The sad rabbit father summed it up. The kingdom collapsed in an instant due to the sudden appearance of unidentified objects. Amidst that chaos, the king, queen, and princess disappeared, and the people lost their king, forcing them to wander everywhere to survive the monsters. The whole crowd listened silently as the rabbit father spoke. That was why Sejun first met the rabbit father and mother here. He said, "We're just like that, finally finding this place after a long search for stability." Sejun suspected, raising his hand to rub his chin, trying to piece everything together. It turned out that the place where the two decided to stay was on the 99th floor. No wonder I felt strange. Originally, the 99th floor wasn't a suitable place for rabbits to live. Looking at Sejun with a sad and melancholic gaze, the rabbit father thought that our family thought the monsters had swallowed the entire 55th floor. But who would have thought that some survived there after all? The carpenter rabbit added sadly, his family and the remaining rabbits couldn't escape through the tunnels, waiting to die at the hands of the monsters. But for some reason, the monsters suddenly disappeared, and the ones waiting for the rabbits in the desolate land were completely different. Its grid, Elka frowned, suddenly blurting out the name of the landlord who haunted the wolf tribe for half of his life. Seeing Grid's unclear identity, Elka reminded him that he was a wild boar named Grid. Just imagining him sent shivers down everyone's spine. The architect Rabbit told Sajin that Grid led a tribe of giant wild boars and proclaimed himself the great landlord, then took over the lost 55th floor. The painful squeaks when the architect Rabbit recounted the day that changed the entire kingdom. Grid began to strip away each rabbit, turning the once red kingdom into a giant farm only producing food. Seeing the two siblings saddened and psychologically shaken, still crying, the architect Rabbit told them that even though it was reckless, they couldn't bear it anymore. So they escaped, even though the escape could mean death for all of them. Fortunately, they were rescued. Sajin quickly leaned down to comfort them calmly. "Rest first. You guys have been through a lot." Looking down at the black rabbit leading everyone into the prehistoric cave to rest, Sajin asked if they could lend some beds in the cave for these guys. Seeing the gray rabbits preparing to go down into the cave made him feel sorry for them. The rabbit couple came here in a state of exhaustion, while these kids were full of wounds on their bodies, surely having lived through months of hardship. Touching the straw hat, Sajin thought that Grid was also the one looking for this straw hat, right? Elka nodded in agreement. "Yes, sir. He's a wealthy and influential figure in the tower through providing food." After hearing the story, Elka wanted to curse that foul, stinking pig for intentionally taking advantage to exploit the residents. But then the clan leader felt he shouldn't speak like that. After all, he had worked for Grid to exchange food for the wolf tribe, so shame overwhelmed Elka's heart. Even though he only worked for a short time, helping the villain do such evil deeds was not right. Adding his words to comfort the clan leader, "You understand, meow. Most of the food is distributed throughout the tower through the merchant guild. Meow. And I heard that most of it comes from the farm of the landlord, Growl." Listening to the cat say that, Sajin turned to Elka worriedly, asking if that Grid guy could come up to this 99th floor, right? The clan leader said no. No matter how much money that guy pays, no mercenary would dare to go up to the 99th floor. Most mercenaries are just cowardly folks. Hearing that, Sajin sighed deeply, feeling somewhat reassured. He put the straw hat on the merchant cat's head, feeling less worried because that landlord couldn't chase after these gray rabbits all the way here. Meanwhile, on the 55th floor, Grid's castle was being rebuilt right on top of the former castle of the Red Kingdom, where Grid was now shouting angrily, casting his fierce red-eyed gaze towards the two brown dogs who had just returned to report the situation. Grid's furious appearance demanded they repeat everything again, and they told him it was all because of that wretched Elka. That old silver wolf betrayed us. He even took those rabbits we were chasing somewhere else. The brown dog beside him cried, pointing to his swollen face, saying, "He even attacked us too, sir. Look at this wound." Grid, sitting on his throne, listened to them speak, and that horrible Elka was never trustworthy from the beginning, sir. The wild boar exhaled unhappily. "Well, just let that gray wolf go. When food in the tower runs out, he'll have to come crying to me for help." Looking at his underlings beside him, Grid asked about the preparations. "Everything still going smoothly?" That guy replied, "Yes. Currently, we are limiting food distribution to the lower floors by sending people to wander and block the food supply. Complaints from the residents of the Magic Tower are increasing. Even the Merchant Guild is speaking up, but everything is still under our control. If so, that's great. Everything is going according to Grid's plan." He smiled with satisfaction. His sharp teeth were clearly visible behind his long, pointed tusks, as another opportunity was coming soon. Clenching his ambitious fist, soon this tower would be in his hands, just like how he took over the 55th floor decades ago. This time, he wouldn't stop at just one kingdom. This entire tower would be his. Grid's laughter echoed against the walls, making everyone's ears ache, but no one dared to complain because Grid's power had grown so strong that no one dared to touch or oppose him. Sajin's prehistoric cave was bathed in golden sunlight, ripening the juicy red tomatoes, unsure if it was part of Grid's upcoming punishment plan or not. Sajin wasn't sure, and he didn't care. He sat up, feeling refreshed after a long sleep. Beside him, Theo was still yawning. Sajin lifted him up, urging him, "Come on, merchant cat, it's already morning." Despite everything, Theo was still very sleepy. Rubbing his eyes, Sajin went to the pond to wash his face, suddenly feeling something strange. He couldn't believe his eyes. A small wooden bucket filled with clean water was supported by straight wooden planks, conveying water from the lake through bamboo pipes. Looking at the full bucket of water, the farmer exclaimed, holding the red scoop next to him in amazement. "Oh my, there's even a water scoop here." Seijin scooped up each full scoop of water onto his head immediately, humming happily, thinking it must have been those gray rabbits who built it. From now on, washing his head would be so convenient. He might even be able to bathe his back too. While massaging his wet hair, Theo called from the other side, "Come and see this, sir." Only food could wake up a sleepy cat, right? It led Seijin to a sturdy, gigantic stone kitchen that had just been newly built and was now operational. Above, the mother rabbit was stirring some soup, while below, the young rabbits were bringing more bamboo leaves to blow on the fire. Theo proudly showed the chairman, "They're doing something fancy, sir." Seijin couldn't believe his eyes. It was an extremely productive stove kitchen, not just an iron pot hanging on a wooden stick anymore. Seijin was stunned, looking at Theo. There was even a round table made from smoothed wood. Seijin sparkled with joy, picking up the chopsticks and spoon. From now on, he could eat properly with these. Beside him, Theo showed him a large wooden bowl, saying, "Look at this, sir. Pimik, Pibik, and Pirik made me a separate bowl, and there's even my footprint on it, sir." Surprised at the craftsmanship of the item, Seijun asked again what those three names were. "They're the names of those gray rabbits, nothing else." Theo held up the bowl as big as his head, pointing behind him, saying they can make anything because they're very grateful to stay here, sir. Over there, the architect rabbit was being given a beautiful dark blue towel by the gray rabbits. The architect rabbit scratched his head shyly, saying, "This is a gift to thank you for taking care of us yesterday, sir." They worked tirelessly, with hands and feet never stopping. The new cloth was so beautiful that Sickle Rabbit decided to wear it right away. At the same time, Seijun approached and called the kids, and immediately saw all three lined up, bowing their heads respectfully to thank him very much for his thoughtful care yesterday. "There are still many things missing, but we will try to help in any way we can within our abilities." Before Architect Rabbit could finish speaking, Seijun's big hand suddenly grabbed its hand unexpectedly. On his bright face was the key question. "Do you guys need a job right now? A job?" While the little rabbit behind eagerly wanted to say yes, Architect Rabbit felt something amiss behind Seijun's casual smile. Its ears twitched continuously as if warning, surprisedly asking, "What did you just say?" The prehistoric cave of Seijun still basked in the gentle sunlight pouring down from above, just like any other day. But today held a special event, an official announcement from Seijun himself. He eagerly informed everyone that Pimik, Pirik, and Pibik had decided to stay with them. The three of them extended their hands in front of their bellies to express gratitude, while everyone applauded, welcoming the three new members into the rabbit family with joy, especially the younger ones, who were ecstatic. With the addition of more workers to Seijun's private company, as the president, he would deliver a constructive speech. With such a talented technical team, our farm would surely flourish even more in the future. The gray rabbits listened intently, feeling empowered. "We can do anything," they chanted along with Seijun, sounding quite enthusiastic. Then the farmer knelt down, looking at the rabbits, and asked, "First off, could you build a house for the rabbits? The young ones are growing, and they need more space. Plus, you need a place to stay too. The second generation needs to become more independent, but nobody here knows how to build a house." Unlike their parents, who could build small houses with mud and leaves, the second-generation rabbits had some plans. Some carried leaves, others dug the ground, but they still couldn't figure out how to make a decent rabbit hole. It was exhausting, and some even lay down to sleep. Since the gray rabbits arrived, they had noticed the dug-up earth pile. They laughed and said, "That's our specialty. Leave it to us." Upon hearing Seijun discussing with the gray rabbits, Theo demanded to be carried, saying he also wanted a mobile home. "But you already had their own pouches," Seijun teased the cat. Initially, Seijun intended to decline to reduce their workload, but one of them suddenly suggested, "Can we build a ramen building for you, made of instant noodles or something?" It was just a whim. They didn't really need a house. When they slept on Seijun's leaf bed, while most of the time, they were on their merchant cat travels. Then the gray rabbits looked at Seijun's belongings, seeing only a bed of leaves neatly arranged with a blanket on top, and a bag woven from leaves stuffed with more leaves as a pillow, along with a backpack from his days at the Magic Tower and a plastic water bottle. They wondered if he made leaf perfume too. One of them asked, "Seijun, don't you have a home? It was the first time someone had asked Sejin such a question. His living situation wasn't much different from that of a prehistoric farmer. He was used to it. He hesitated before replying, "I just sleep on these leaves." Then a small one suggested, "Why not build a home for Sejin too?" He hadn't thought about that before. Human homes surely needed larger dimensions than those of cats or rabbits. How could these kids build a house for him? There wasn't enough space inside the cave area anyway. Excitedly, the architect rabbit told him that even though they couldn't build a house inside the cave, they were confident they could build one outside. There were plenty of materials like wood that they could find and provide themselves. Hearing that, Sejin, excited, agreed. He would love to have a home instead of rolling around on a pile of leaves all the time. Just the thought made him happy. Sejin mumbled to himself, "I've only been able to expand the farm so far, so having some extra time to rest indoors would be nice." Not to mention, mother bear cubs and the gray wolves occasionally visited here too. With a house, all of them could rest inside and feel safer when coming to report work to Sejin on the 99th floor.